On this day in Louisville, Kentucky, these 8 men went to camp to speak the words of the Most High Power. And as they had done countless times before, but on this day, they were attacked by a vile mob of heathens and sinful men who sought to take their lives and stop them from raising up the 12 tribes of the nation of Israel.
That's right.
However, in accordance to their training and the love that they had for one to another, they fought their attackers side by side.
That's right.
Shoulder to shoulder.
Right.
On to death if necessary.
That's right.
And at the end of the conflict, they prevailed and returned to their homes and to their brethren and their wives and their children. All was lost except one thing they brought back. They brought back the Bible.
That's right.
And delivered it back to this nation.
That's right.
Shalom, Israel. You know what it is. This is Kentucky 8 Podcast. Shalom, Israel. You know what it is, Kentucky 8 Podcast with your host, Captain Kapash. Today we're going over some big stories that's dealing with our people, dealing with our brothers, dealing with what we're going through. All right, that's what we do at Israelite News, Israelite World News, Kentucky 8 Podcast. We talk about big stories that's going on with our people and how it's affecting our people. All right, first let's go with school officials address anti-white training resignation as calls for release of session materials grow. Let's see what it's talking about. A Manchester mayoral candidate is asking the city school board to release professional development and training materials for school staff that addresses the topics of whiteness, implicit bias, systemic racism, and cultural awareness. After the coordinator of Northwest Elementary after-school program resigned Monday, citing white privilege training. Look at that. So you mad that you getting your white privilege training, and so you want to resign. Former school board member and alderman Rich Gerard is also seeking the release of any and all cultural materials, teacher assignments, or other classroom instruction materials regarding race relations. They trying to wipe out all race. They trying to make it where you can't teach nothing about no race at all in the whole school system. You know what I mean? Which we know why. Because they don't want their crimes to come out. Our parents, students, and taxpayers have a right to know what training the district is either requiring or making available on a voluntary basis to the staff, said Gerard in a statement. Our parents, students, and Daniel Concannon, 40, brought a harassment complaint against the district in March, claiming the mandatory training amounted to harassment in response to the complaint. Manchester school officials said they clarified with employees that the training is not mandatory. So that's how the devil works. It's a training that's not mandatory. The devil will go to the training just to complain about it, just to put in complaints about it and say it's wrong. They shouldn't be doing it because they teaching X, Y, and Z. This is what we're dealing with. We're dealing with a people that have no compassion, have no sympathy, have no understanding of anybody's plight but their own. Daniel Concannon, 40, let me go down. Concannon CC'd his June 28 resignation letter to many, including school board members. So he's going to resign and make a big issue about it and CC everybody in it all over the place that he's resigning because of this to try to be a big ass crybaby. So everybody can see why he's doing it and that he's against it. Why is he against it? Because he's racist. That's a simple reason. As simple as that. Because he's the devil the Bible speaks of, and he doesn't want blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans to know where they come from or know their history. The complaint derived from a training session for staff designed to foster critical thinking about race, said Goddard. As we see debates on these issues on the state, local, and national stages, I want to reiterate the values of our district and emphasize that the words and actions of this former staff member are not reflective of the district as a whole. Goldahart said the Manchester School District values all members of the community, regardless of race, ethnicity, religion, or sexual orientation. All districts deserve safe and equal learning opportunity, blah, blah, blah. I understand that some will agree with this former employee's sentiments, and it's important to underscore that the intent of this message is not to make those people feel unwelcome. Rather, the intent is to ensure that everyone knows they are welcome, safe, and secure in Manchester schools. We remain squarely focused on equity and highly invested in the success of all of our students. Some board members briefly addressed Concannon letter during a meeting Monday night where school officials introduced Tina Kim Filibati, the district's new chief equity officer. Ain't that something? A chief equity officer. Make sure there ain't no racism, huh? That's what you're going to do, huh? Or make sure nobody's teaching about racism. Jeremy Dodson of Ward 6 said some are using critical race theory, which he said also existed since the 1980s, for political gain. It's really being used as a tool, drive, hatred, and division. What we really need is unity, said Dodson. Dodson said critical race theory was developed as a way to examine why African Americans continue to experience racism in America. We're only just starting to hear about it now because it's a political tool or level, or maybe more accurately, a wedge to continue to drive people apart and hopefully drive people to the polls next November, 2024. Yeah. I hope that critical race theory continues to drive a wedge between black students and white students, black teachers and white teachers, because that's what we need as a race. We need our people to return to ourselves and to examine ourselves and to stop trying to integrate. Stop caring about the other and the next man's house and start caring about our own. Critical race theory, for those who only watch the headlines, has nothing to do whether or not you're a racist. Nothing to do with any particular person. It is a framework. Don't buy into the hype, please. It means absolutely nothing that it's being construed as, and it's not being used correctly. At large, school board member Jim O'Connell said he's 100% confident every student in Manchester will be treated equally and with respect, regardless of race, color, gender, or anything else. That's a bunch of BS. You know the schools teach racism. Their very core is racism because they're teaching about white history and they're not teaching correct black history. Black history is only 1 month long, but you have 6 or 7, 8 months of white history being shoved down your throat. So how could it be equity and equality? It's just not there. It's just not going to happen. Dobson said he's proud to live in a city considered a melting pot. Please do not use this media crap around CRT in our schools. CRT training that everyone's up in arms about, said Dodson. I don't think there's a single CRT training going on right now as far as professional development. You can agree or disagree with it. I don't know if 100% agree with it. Legal scholars don't 100% agree with it. That's why it's a theory. However, it is a conversation that needs to happen, that is happening on a regular basis here in the city, and I'm very proud of it. Hey, more power to you. Let's keep it going. You see what I'm saying? Let's keep that going. So let's get to the next story. As far as we're concerned, hey, whatever's going to drive a stronger wedge between our people, between the children of Israel and Esau, the better. Let's read some more. United Nations Human Rights Chief releases report calling for reparations as a way to address anti-black racism. Here we go. The murder of George Floyd last year was the unexpected catalyst for the current state of race relations, not only in America, but the world as well. His death spurred a historic report by the human rights chief for the United Nations that is calling on countries to fight harder against anti-black racism and to make amends with those communities through various means, including reparations. This is a good story. The United Nations is basically calling for countries to make amends through reparations. The report by Michelle Bachelet, the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, examined 190 deaths that came as a result of police shootings to demonstrate how police officers are very rarely held accountable for rights violations against Black people. The report was commissioned last year after the video of Floyd being murdered by former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin. The report wasn't limited to just the United States, as it also went to the issues of systemic racism in countries such as Brazil, Canada, France, and several others. We could not find a single example of a state that has fully reckoned with the past of comprehensively accounted for the impacts of the lives of people of African descent. Moni Rashmai, who leads a non-discrimination unit at the UN Human Rights Office, said in a news conference, "Our message, therefore, is that this situation is untenable." From NBC News, the report aims to speed up action by countries to end racial justice and impunity for rights violations by police, ensure that people of African descent and those who speak out against racism are heard, and face up to past wrongs through accountability and redress. I'm calling on all states to stop denying and start dismantling racism, to end impunity and build trust, to listen to the voices of the people of African descent, and to confront past legacies and deliver redress. This is what she said in a video statement. While broaching the issue of reparation in her most explicit way yet, Bachelet suggested that monetary compensation alone is not enough and would be a part of an array of measures to help rectify or make up for the injustices. Reparations should not only be equated with financial compensation, she wrote, adding that it should include restitution, rehabilitation, acknowledgement of injustices, apologies, memorialization, educational reforms, and guarantees that such injustices won't happen again. That's a very powerful statement. Thank you, UN, for saying that. Now, let's get the rest of the damn heathen nations to be on board with that. While I would never say no to money, I'd also like to see reparations in the form of just acknowledging the fuckery this country was built on and how it has contributed to the effery of today. We weren't seen as people for hundreds of years in this country, and arguably still aren't considered that electing a Black president was enough for white Americans to lose its collective mind for over half a decade. We have to acknowledge the role of history if we want to have any hope of actually building a better country. Considering the nationwide hysteria around critical race theory, though that seems like a pipe dream at the moment, in recent months, the conversation surrounding reparations has only intensified, and we've seen students at universities built on slave labor advocate for reparations, and seminaries built through free Black labor begin their own reparations programs. Illinois has begun its own reparations program, and various states have launched task forces and commissions to discuss their own potential reparations programs. Wow. That was a mouthful. And the fact that the conversation is so wide ranging now, the United Nations even stepping in and speaking on the matter, goes to show you that what these people have done is wrong. And the other nations and the United Nations has agreed and are willing to speak out on it, speak out for it. So us as Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, we should not give up the fight. The fight has now really kind of just beginning. You know what I mean? UPK, we've been in the fight since 1969, dropping the truth and teaching this and getting our people on board. But now we're seeing a lot of fruit of our battles and of our efforts over the years. You know, brothers ahead of me, before me, years and years, work in the streets teaching critical race theory, teaching that the oppressor, what he has done to us is wrong and should be made amends of, and that it could not stand. So now we're seeing in the United Nations that they're making a stance, that they're trying to address it. And I'm happy to see that. Now, does that mean all the other nations are going to get down? No. But that is more ammunition for what we push in the Israelite School of UPK. More ammunition for us. All right? And we definitely are not going to let it go anytime soon. Let's get the last story. And when I say let it go, we're not going to let go of our past and what they've done to us and what they owe us and what they've stolen from us. We're not going to let it go. It's not worth letting it go. It's worth bringing it up. And it's worth keeping it up and putting it in the oppressor's face so he can never again say that he's this great, omnipotent, high and mighty, righteous, pious being, which he is not. He must pay for his crimes, and his children must pay for the crimes of their forefathers and of their country and of their kingdom. And all these governments should pay. All the forms of every type of reparation, land, money, rights, power, everything should be handed over to the children of the people who were wronged in this place, if they were to make any type of amends. Which, as we know, America does not give a damn about blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, and will continue to try to kowtow and do everything they can do except what is right. Let's get our next story.
February 2021. Thousands of militiamen loyal to Shiite Muslim cleric Muqtada al-Sadr take to the streets of Baghdad and cities in southern Iraq. It's their biggest show of force since the mid-2000s, when Sadr followers battled the US occupation. Now the Sadrists are preparing for a political show of force, one that could make them the biggest winner in October's election. Sadr himself quit politics in 2000.
And this is heavy because America is talking about withdrawing all these troops that they did. As soon as they withdrew, all these other groups of military came in and start taking up power. Hey, it's not over. World War III is definitely churning.
14, fearing his reputation would be hurt by association with a corrupt ruling class. But Sadrist politician Hakim Zamli says even the top job in government is now within reach for his movement.
The Sadrist movement started with 15 seats, then it got 30, now it has 44. Signs of popularity of the Sadrist movement started to increase because it is close to the people, to the citizens. The Sadrist movement is not claiming elections, or hasn't before, because previously we were far from aiming for the Prime Minister's position. Now, if the candidate is not from the Sadrist movement itself, it will be a candidate supported by the Sadrist movement.
The growing influence could pose problems for the United States and Iran. Sadr accuses both of meddling in Iraq. According to more than a dozen government officials and lawmakers who spoke to Reuters, the Sadrists already hold senior jobs within the Interior, Defense, and Communications ministries. They also have key appointments in state oil, electricity, and transport bodies and state-owned banks.
And it's not good. Them having all that power in different places, them Arabs coming back. You understand? So we're gonna get ready for the war, the gears of war to get back churning. That's what you're seeing here.
On the streets, Sadr's appeal goes way beyond bastions like Baghdad's sprawling Sadr city. His movement is there to help all Iraqis, says close aide Hazem al-Araji.
We don't discriminate between a solderist and a non-solderist. We help any person that needs assistance. Depending on our capabilities, we give more or give less. For instance, during the month of Ramadan, we had a campaign for the families of martyrs, of injured people or families in need. We brought them aid packages. We don't support one category at the expense of another category. We also helped Christians, Sabian, Mandaeans.
Iraq's Prime Minister Mustafa al-Kadhimi has previously denied that the Southerist movement controls posts in his administration, and he insists he is in charge. But neither his government nor US nor Iranian officials wanted to respond to this report. After decades of bloodshed and political deadlock, more and more Iraqis, like Mustafa el-Dahebi, are willing to give the Southerist a chance.
They hope they will win the post of Prime Minister, and we hope that too. Because we have tried them all, the parties, the independents, they did not do anything. So they're the only ones left. We will try them, it's okay. There is nothing else left, we'll try them out, and we hope they will achieve the ambitions of the oppressed people.
Well, there you have it. Hold on a sec. There you have it. You know, in Iraq, an old U.S. foe is stronger than ever. Thousands of militiamen loyal to Shiite Muslim cleric Muqtada al-Sadr take to the streets of Baghdad and the cities in southern Iraq. It's their biggest show of force since the mid-2000s. So these military groups is coming back as America left. It always leave when you leave like that, like America left, you leave a void. You leave a void of power. So now these other groups can get stronger, and that's what they're doing. You know, I think I'm glad that they are getting back powerful, because that means a better enemy for America. That means more war. More war means Christ is going to come back. You understand? In the form when World War III cracks off. So that's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with World War III and battles and war. Don't join the oppressor's military right now, man. Do not join the United States Navy, United States Army, United States Reserves, none of that. Because when things get serious, and things will, you're going to be called. You're going to be out there fighting. You're going to be out there dying. And when Christ returns, it's going to be over for you. Okay? There's no trusting in this system. There's no trusting in this kingdom. Only thing that's left is to batten down the hatches, huddle down, get with your people, get with your brothers and sisters here in America or in other countries, get down with the UPK, and seek refuge from the Most High. That's where we're going to have our power. That's where we're going to be able to, a turtle defense. We're going to turtle ourselves in. That's fine. But that's how you build, by turtling. You know what I mean? I played plenty of RPG strategy games. And if you really want to build up your forces, you turtle. Don't send them out. Don't go fighting. Just turtle. Build a strong defense and defend yourself, and build your armies until you're ready to attack, until you're ready to make your move. And that's what black people need to do in America. We need to turtle. You know what I mean? Stick to ourselves, stick to our own embrace, and build ourselves up. Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, the 12 tribes of Israel. With that said, it's Kentucky 8 Podcast, Israelite World News. Check us out every Tuesday night, 9 p.m., and every Friday night, 9 p.m. Go to isubk.com for more info. It's time to get right with the Most High and repent and bring forth fruit meet for repentance, because time is short. With that said, shalom.